Whoa, that's what people change, behavior shifting. We know that change is inevitable, including in the banking sector and how we manage our money and everything. In the past decade, digital banking has been rapidly growing all over the world, including Indonesia. And through digital banking, anyone could access services or do transactions anytime through their cell phones. With it, customers can save time and avoid the hassle of waiting in lines. And especially
Right.
for now, we're not contacting to each other.
Exactly, a good point there. But with convenience sometimes comes risk, and in recent days, such convenience was marred by reports of breaches of digital bank accounts, with loss of funds reported to be in the hundreds of millions. So the question is, which is to blame? Vulnerability in the system or lack of digital literacy amongst us, the customers? And to find out what the answer is, or perhaps find out more about it, we're now connected with technology security specialist, Mr. Alphonse Tanujaya. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, Pa Alphonse.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Safira.
Hi, Pa Alphonse. How are you? Hope you are doing great.
Yeah, fine, thank you. I hope everybody's staying healthy.
All right, but we are a little bit concerned about the digital transaction using the app and everything using our smartphone. And what happened recently about people are losing their money or by using the app and services, digital services. So, what are among the most common or modus operandi in account breaching, Pak?
Oh, okay. Uh, Technically, the security of the digital accounts is already good enough, but usually when people face some mature security, then they will go to what we call social engineering. So if you face some good protection like two-factor authentication or one-time password, then technically there is no way to find out how to break that security. So the only way is that they are relying on social engineering,
So,
like pretending to be customer service of the bank, or pretending
Okay.
to be a police, or pretending to be victims of the Indomaret cashier that have done mistake in asking for help.
so basically, they're attacking. It's not the system they're attacking, but the users. And would it be safe to say that the customers are the weakest link? For example, somehow getting tricked into giving the OTP or giving away our PIN. That all comes to us. Is this what makes us the target of digital theft?
Yeah, we can say 70% target will be the customer, and 30% of the attack will be affected by the weak system of the digital banking.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So, Pak, as we know that some of our data has been leaked several months ago, if you remember. So, how can we prevent data theft through social media? Because most of people are using it at the moment, Pak.
Okay, if talking about data breach, the two data breach, the big one, customer can do nothing if the corporation
Okay.
doesn't maintain the data well, then it can be breached, and we just can pray as customers, because our data is in their hand. But we as customer, we have somewhat what we call digital asset.
Oh,
So as
okay.
we know from now, the most valuable commodity in the world is data.
Yes,
So
true.
it comes to us like our account, our social number, our birth date, or some kind of that, and we have to avoid expose too much information to social media.
Okay.
Because sometimes we don't realize we're doing it, right?
Exactly.
Like I remember there was a time when people were just posting, hey, I'm going away on holiday, and they just took a picture of themselves with their boarding pass, not realizing that
Yes.
it had their information on it.
data. Oh
Like these
my
are the things. It happened with vaccinations as well. People were, showing that they got vaccinated, but then their certificate was fully shown. So these are the things we have to be more aware of, I think, as people. And I think this brings us to our next question. Earlier on I asked, what is it because of the vulnerability of the system or the lack of literacy or digital I guess the
Digital
incomplete
literacy,
digital
yeah.
literacy here in the country? Which would you blame more for account breaches?
Mostly it is the weakness of the users. They try to exploit it, but the last two incidents we see that indirectly the imperfect system make it easier. So for example, there is an account, e-commerce account,
Yeah.
combined together with e-wallet account, but their security is not using e-wallet security, but using e-commerce security. So technically it should use the safer security, e-wallet security, but it didn't apply.
All right. So basically, we have to be more careful when we're using the e-wallet that connected to our e-commerce account. We have to make sure
Yes.
what the security system that we are applying, because it conducts us. The system will always ask us about the permission.
Sure.
Right. We
Yeah.
have to allow to use the safest key system then.
It's pointless to have like the highest security from an e-commerce platform if your e-wallet really has
Are open.
yeah.
Exactly. So, but how do you see the development of digital banking in Indonesia?
Okay, Shafira. What you say is very interesting. So we have to actively activate security of our account. So technically, the most most like Facebook, Google already supply us with good security two-factor authentication,
Yeah.
but we as a user have to activate it. It doesn't activate automatically. So that's a very important point. So, and about the digital banking, it is inevitable that the digital banking is going that way. Then traditional banking have to work very hard to go digital, unless their market will be taken by digital banking.
Oh wow.
Well, Alphonse, I have a question. This is partly personal too. I find that the more, I guess the farther along we get in technology, the more apps I have on my phone, the more apps I happen to need. And because everything is digital now, all my bills are digital, I find that I have to have basically a login for a lot of these different services that I use. And the more logins I have, the more passwords I have to remember, the more user IDs. So I'm trusting, I have a phone that I trust, that I end up just saving the password digitally on there. But there's other people who believe, they don't want to do that. They want to have different passwords for different sites. I find it very difficult. It just gets more and more difficult for me. What are some tips from you, perhaps, in order to prevent account breaching, but also not to make life overly difficult? Because I do know one of the safest ways, well, just make a really difficult password. But then I'll have to write it all down somewhere, which is a risk in itself. What do you say, Alphonse?
What you do is already one of the three minimum security measures we have to do. What you do is keeping your password safe. So I recommend you to use some password manager, and it is cross-platform and it is safe in the cloud, and you can use it in Android, and it will automatically sync to your computer or other device.
Oh.
And if you want to know how to completely secure yourself, I have some interesting sentence that in Bahasa we call it call Paman one time.
Call
There is
Paman one
three
time.
steps.
Call
One time.
Paman.
What is that?
What is that?
Call
Call Paman.
call
Call
Paman
one time.
one. Okay.
Ah.
Call is Truecaller.
Okay.
You need to use Truecaller to protect yourself from scammer and telemarketer, and it will be automatically update your phone.
Okay.
That's the first step. The second is Paman. What is Paman? Paman is what Paul just told us, password manager.
Oh.
So you use
okay.
Truecaller, you use password manager, and what is one time? One time is one time password.
Okay, so we don't get
So this is the
confused.
golden rule.
Okay.
Call
Exactly.
Paman one time and you will be safe.
Paman one
Okay.
time. Oh wow.
Yeah, I use a form of that app that you have for calling. I do have a caller identification app that I use.
Really?
Very convenient because I get tons of marketing calls throughout the day, so I know which
Wow.
ones to pick up now. Yeah.
Oh wow! I think I have to download
Yeah,
it.
it's very
because
helpful.
A lot of calls to offer something and everything, you know.
Every
And
day.
about the password that is so true
Password
because we
manager,
have
yeah.
so many passwords for a lot of apps
Yeah.
that we have, and ended up with I forgot password.
Every time,
I
right?
click the
Please send it to me by
password.
email.
Exactly. So, Pak Alphonse, in your perspective, how would you compare Indonesia's digital banking infrastructure with the ones in other Southeast Asian countries?
Okay, technically Indonesia is the fourth most populated country in the world, and logically our market, of course, it should be number 4 in the world. But as a size, we go there. But the problem is the infrastructure. But honestly, from what I see, our infrastructure is good enough. I think it can handle a minimum requirement needed to do digital banking. And if we're talking about digital banking, it is mobile banking, and our cellular coverage, I think is good enough. We don't need 5G to do that. 4G is already enough to do a good digital banking.
Okay.
Well, Alphonse, obviously this pandemic has affected everything, including digital banking. Would you say that, would you agree that because of the pandemic, a lot of platforms have been pushed to put out services or apps, and a lot of businesses have been forced to, go the e-commerce route more earlier than they were ready for? And if that's the case, how do you see our development so far of digital banking despite the pandemic or through the pandemic that's happening in this country?
What you say is exactly true, Paul. This pandemic speed up everything to become digital. Without pandemic, everything is going digital. Maybe 2 to 3 years will go to digital. But this pandemic speeded up, and people were forced to do everything from home, work from home, and by home we are not allowed to the market. We are not allowed to go to the mall or everything. So it's speeded up by the pandemic.
Do you feel that that makes it a larger security risk, as perhaps if we had to able to take our time to create a safer system? Do you feel that we're compromising risk by having to be sped up digital banking in Indonesia?
In the beginning, it is happening. So usually the millennial and the younger will be easier to adapt to digital banking. But a person like me, baby boomers, or they will get more difficult to adapt to digital banking.
All right.
But if we want to do that, if we want to do the business, we have to learn.
All right, that is the most important thing to
Indeed.
learn. We
Very
have to adapt by
Sure.
the changing situation. because with or without pandemic, I think digital, digital is the future.
Yeah,
You know,
it's already
And
here.
It's already here. No matter no matter who is using the platform or the e-wallet or the electronic everything in transaction, people have to help to each other,
Sure.
you know, to adjust with the situation and the system. So, Pak Alphonse, this one is really important about the support from the government to develop of digital banking here in Indonesia. How can you share with us about that?
You support from government is very important because the government is like a referee for a free system. So in this case, like OJK should control this digital banking very well, and they have to put a minimum requirement for security of any financial institution want to go to this digital banking market. They have to set some minimum requirement, like for example, if you want to do a transaction, because there is some things that are going opposite direction, ease of use and security.
Yes.
If you put something too secure, it is difficult to use. People will
Right.
not want to use it.
Yes.
But if you put it too easy,
Yeah.
it will be easy to breach.
Oh.
You need to find the right way to do that. It have to be secure, but it must not give hassle to people and difficult to use. That's the trick. So the government have to find a way to do that and be a good referee, and fair referee to keep the safety of user of digital banking.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
wow.
guess the more that we do this, the more we're seeing people's behavior and trends and starting to figure out where the ends of those limits are, where people's comfort zone. Like me personally as a consumer, I have a comfort zone where I want certain security measures in place, but I don't want to have to go through 12 steps just to get to my account. So
Exactly.
you're absolutely right about that. Pa Alphonse, thank you so much for your time and your insight into your specialty. Pa Alphonse is a technology security specialist, something that's very well needed in this field right now.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us and sharing on the C Morning Show. We hope you stay healthy and
Thank
hope
you,
to see you
Pa.
again.
Thank you
Pa.
so much, Pa.
Thank you. Have
Take
a
care.
nice day.
Bye. Have a
An
nice
awesome
day.
day as well.